Shark Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com, off of Love Can't Wait, which you can find on Amazon.com. In this video, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to show you how to verbally defend yourself, because words are very important, and in a lot of environments, you're going to have to defend yourself, verbally defend yourself. And it's taken me a long time to learn how to do this, because I was used to putting hands on people. If someone said something to me that I didn't like, I just kicked their ass. But in a lot of environments and in the society that we live today, we live in a sue happy society. Everyone wants to sue for assault, and if you work a job, at some point you're going to have to verbally defend yourself, and people are going to try to use your words against you. They're going to try and twist your words with the narrative that they want to push to make you look like a fool. So I'm going to start this video, and I'm going to pause in between frames, and I'm going to show you what this guy, Tucker Carlson from Fox News, tried to do. So let's get it.
Carlson, tonight, Donald Trump is officially the president-elect of the United States, the Electoral College having voted yesterday. Many of Donald Trump's critics, meanwhile, have also reached a milestone. They're officially hysterical, some having reached a diagnosable level of panic and overstatement. It isn't just that the other guy won. In their view, it's the end of civilization itself, the beginning of a post-apocalyptic hellscape where Nazis fill the upper ranks of our government. Where'd they get that idea? Well, maybe from people like our next guest. Tariq Nasheed hosts a podcast, writes books and movies, has his own radio show. He's a robust presence on Twitter where, just this morning, he wrote this, quote, Trump has appointed to his cabinet people from the alt-right, a white supremacist sect that literally throws up Nazi salutes, hashtag never my president. Tariq joins us now. Tariq, thanks for coming on. So I looked at a list of the president-elect's cabinet appointments. Which one of them throws up Nazi salutes, literally, as you said?
Well, no. Well, Steve Bannon, he's associated with that alt-right organization, which is really nothing more than a sect of white supremacy. And those alt-right people, they were in a federal building at the Ronald Reagan building, throwing up Nazi salutes in the Steve Spencer, all of these, not Steve Spencer, but Richard Spencer, all of these guys are basically open white supremacists who practices Nazism. So, and Trump is associated with that, just like Reverend Wright was associated with Barack Obama, and you people here criticized him for that.
You don't say he was associated.
Yes.
You said appointed people to his cabinet who throw up Nazi salutes. Steve Bannon, by the way, is not in the cabinet. Has Steve Bannon thrown up a Nazi salute that you are aware of or can prove?
But Steve Bannon is a part, and he was representing that whole alt-right movement. So if we're going to play
Steve Bannon at this meeting? I mean, what does Steve Bannon have to do with it?
Well, the same thing. He was associated with the people doing it. Just like how you guys associate me with Black Lives Matter, and I have nothing to do with it. Steve Bannon was representing, and he was associated with those alt-right people who are nothing more than white supremacists. And if we can go deeper than that,
okay,
and if we go deeper than that, if we go deep, we haven't gone deep enough, Tucker. But I want to get factual too. But the whole campaign was run on a white supremacist platform. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Here's my point. You have a lot of venues. People listen to you. You've got 160,000 Twitter followers. You've written a bunch of books. People believe you. And people are worried about Trump, and they don't know what this administration is going to look like. And here you come out in public this morning and say he's appointed people to his cabinet who are Nazis, literally, to quote you, who are giving the Nazi salute.
See what Tucker did? Now, Tariq didn't say that anybody were Nazis. He said they threw up Nazi signs. Now, you got to pay attention to the technology that a lot of these people use on television. And a lot of people in jobs, place of employment that you probably work, they use these same tactics as well. So you got to really pay attention to how they use words and how they can trip you up, and how they'll take your words that you use on paper or in any form of social media or any channel, especially online, and sometimes within the video, and they'll try to put a different spin and a different narrative. And this is why context is so important. Context is very important. So I'm gonna keep it moving.
And that's not actually true. And you knew it wasn't true when you said it, and yet you're whipping people into a frenzy.
And it's not true
of
when you're
fear.
saying it now. It's not true when you're saying it now because I didn't say that. And that's the problem with systematic white supremacy. You get to label people and say that they said things that they didn't say. No, you didn't read my tweet. No, you didn't read my tweet. You just put your own thing to it, Tucker, which is kind of something that you do. Ask me what I said, and I'll be glad to answer that, Tucker.
Here's what you wrote.
But don't add nothing else to it, though.
Just want to jog your memory now, Tariq. Trump has appointed people to his cabinet.
I know what I said. I know what I said, Tucker.
Who literally throw Nazi salutes. And that's just not true. So my question is, isn't it irresponsible of you to say something that inflammatory that you know isn't true? Look, you may disagree with Trump, and that's fine. But he hasn't appointed Nazis to his cabinet.
What you're saying isn't true. Sir, he's appointing a guy who's associated with the alt-right, and the alt-right, they are literally throwing up Nazi signs. Not only that, Donald Trump himself, he is disenfranchised and discriminated.
Now, you got to really pay attention to this as well. Now, within the mainstream media, they like to associate non-white people or black people. They try to associate us with different type of groups because they want to discredit us. They want to make you look like you're not relevant to the conversation. So this is what they try to do with Tariq. They tried to make him seem like he's a part of the All Blacks Matter group, right? And what that does is to make people, at least in the audience's mind, make them feel like your word is not relevant. Your word is weak, and this person shouldn't be taken seriously. They do that to black people all the time. They bring them onto these networks, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and if you really pay attention, they do this to almost every black person or every person that goes against the status quo. So even if the person have good intentions, most of the time, by the time the commentator gets done talking to them, they cutting them off. They're changing. They're trying to change the narrative of what the whole topic was supposed to be about. And another thing you have to realize: he who controls the narrative and the conversation wins every time. So I'm gonna keep it moving.
Discriminated against black people his whole career. Okay. So this is not something that I'm just reaching out of a bag. And there's other people associated with Trump in the cabinet who have practiced systematic racism for years. So I'm just not pulling anything out of a bag. Even in the campaigns,
I wonder
black people were getting beat up and called racial names. So I'm not pulling something out of thin air, Tucker. I'm not pulling anything out of thin air.
Really quick questions.
Go ahead,
sir. What do you think if there are literally Nazis in the cabinet, what do you think Ben Carson, who's going to be the HUD secretary, thinks of that? Is he involved in that too?
Well, just because you get an individual black person and tokenize that black person, no matter how qualified he is, no matter how qualified a black person is, if you tokenize a black person and put him in a system of white supremacy, that doesn't negate the system of white supremacy. You just put a black person as the face of white supremacy. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now, check this out. Now, there's this myth that if you elect one, if any politician elects one black person, somehow there's equal opportunity, or if if you might know some white people might have got accused for being racist, so they'll be like, hey, I got black friends. Or they'll say stuff like, black people have come a long way. It's a lot of black millionaires today. And this is like a myth, because somehow a lot of white people think that just because you got like 1 to 2 black people hired within a company, that somehow racism doesn't exist, or whatever they're being accused of, it doesn't exist. And nothing can be further from the truth. And this is a tactic that a lot of people use, especially within the mainstream media. And it happens on jobs as well. So you have to be aware of these tactics that they use. So I'm going to keep it moving.
Okay. So I want to ask you about some stuff that you've written, because I think it's important for viewers to know who you are, okay? Because people take you seriously. Now, you are, in addition to a lot of other things, the author of a number of books on dating. One of them is called The Art of Macking. You've written a couple others. And I just want to read you, I was reading it today, it's an interesting book. Chapter 6, Guaranteed Ways to Get Sex from Women. And I'm quoting you. In this chapter, I will give some tried and proven techniques that will help you talk a woman into giving it up. I will also offer you precise rebuttals to every objection a woman may have to giving it up. You say this, the number one lame thing men say to get sex, I love you. You describe that as the bold lie approach. And then you say this, if a woman isn't ready for sex, you quote, 1, question her maturity, 2, minimize the significance of sex, and 3, tell her what she wants to hear. Now, you're advocating lying in order to take advantage of women sexually. This is in your book. I'm not misquoting it. Why should we believe anything that you say if you're counseling people to say, I love you, and lie to women in order to get them in bed?
Now, you see what Tucker did? He went 16, 17 years back to a book he wrote called, a book that Tariq wrote called The Art of Macking. Now, the book doesn't have anything to do with the topic that's being talked about on Fox News in this video. Now, that's another tactic that they use. A lot of people use on jobs as well. Now, they do this because they're trying to discredit you. They're trying to make your word weak. And you see what Tucker asked Tariq. He said, why should anybody listen to you? Why should your followers listen to you if you're writing books and you're talking about how guys should get sex from women? That's a very common tactic that they use. And I like how Tariq responded. And it was kind of a low blow, kind of a cheap blow, because what happens is Tucker really didn't have anything else left to say. He really didn't have anything else left to talk about. And what you have to realize is whenever you having a verbal, peaceful altercation verbally with somebody, when they start to call you name, when the name calling comes into play, you already know you won. They don't have anything else left to say. And then they get upset, and the name calling come in, and they start saying stuff that they probably never said to you before. And that's because they don't have anything else left. So that's the low blow, the cheap way out. So I'm going to keep it moving.
The fact that you're this desperate to get one of my books, which is a book on satire, it's a tongue-in-cheek book. The book was written in a comedic fashion, and the fact that you're getting that to try to justify disenfranchising me, to try to minimize the significance of what I do in the system, that's so cheap, Tucker.
I was just joking, Ruth. So actually, I read about 10 interviews you did on the...
Tucker, don't be a sucker, Tucker.
Okay, so here's an interview you gave to Esquire.
That's so cheap, Tucker.
That is so cheap. It's a legitimate question. You said
Tucker,
this,
I'm
quote,
talking about systematic white supremacy, and you're trying to discredit me by getting a quote from my book, which is tongue-in-cheek, which is about relationships. A lot of the book is satire, it's comedic, and that's so cheap, Tucker. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, Tucker.
Let me just say, I don't think that you were being tongue-in-cheek, and the scores of interviews you did and the 2 follow-up books you wrote on this exact subject, how to lie to women, have sex with them.
The book has so many comedic sections in it, but I don't get them.
But it raises the question,
go ahead, Tucker.
Are you being tongue-in-cheek now with all this race war stuff you're constantly talking about? He's a white supremacist, they're Nazis.
I'm not, because white supremacy is not tongue-in-cheek.
Okay,
we live in a system. We live in a system of white supremacy, and white supremacy is not a joke. White supremacy is not a joke. We live in a system that's dominated in all areas of activity of white supremacy. So I take that very seriously, sir.
So but you're making specific allegations that are untrue, and you know that they're untrue because you're not stupid.
I'm not.
You know exactly what you're doing.
I'm not. You're trying to put words in my mouth, but I'm not shocked.
And that's fine. But does it occur to you? It's very simple. And last question: does it occur to you that people believe you, and that you increase the temperature of race hatred in this country, and that long-term that might lead to some really bad things? Do you?
Okay. Now, black people don't increase the race hate in this country at all. They've never done it. The only group of people that increase the race hate in this country are white folks. Black people don't really have any control or influence as far as anything that happens in this society. So for Tucker to make a blatant statement like that, that just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't add up. It's not even practical. So this video is almost over, so I'm gonna keep it moving.
Feel responsible for that.
You mean like black people getting harmed in all areas of activity, like black people getting shot legally and executed legally? What have you done to Tucker? What have you done to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice?
I'm calling you out for lying. That's what I do.
That's
my contribution today.
For replacing? Okay, Tucker.
Yeah, Tariq, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us tonight. Happy Kwanzaa to you.
See, he didn't have anything else left. Tucker really didn't have anything else left to say. So he had to take the lowest common denominator, result to name calling, and he went 16 years back. Took something that he wrote, that Tariq wrote in one of his old books. Now, 16 years ago, let me ask you a question. How much have you changed from 16 years ago? Maybe you was a kid 16 years ago. Maybe you were younger, maybe you were in your 20s 16 years ago. But how much have you changed 16 years ago? So he went all the way back in the archives to pull something out about women that doesn't have anything to do with the topic that's being talked about on here, because he really could not dispute anything Tariq was saying. And believe it or not, there's women out here that you're going to have to verbally defend yourself. And I know women, there's a lot of women in American society that don't like being held accountable and responsible for their actions. So this is why you have to really learn how to think on your feet. You have to really be on your game. And you can't let people push you in a corner and use your past, use how you grew up, use what you're going through, use your situations that's happening to you in real time, in real life. Because there's people out here today, they'll get to know you, where you're from, how you grew up, your parents, your job situation, your financial income. They'll use that against you and, manipulate you, and in some cases try to embarrass you. So you have to be able to verbally defend yourself at any given time in any environment, period. So this is why I wanted to show this video and break this shit down to you, because I had to learn this shit on my own. You know, no one really taught me this shit. I learned through trial and error, because I used to fuck up so bad. I used to say the wrong thing. I said the wrong thing so many times in numerous environments. So now I just wanted to share some of the game with you. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel, leave your comment below, and tell me what you thought. And don't forget to like, share my video. Until next time, Sharp Gamers out. Peace.